My roommate was a preachy bleeding heart. On our very first day of college, she snatched my electric bug zapper right out of my hand. Mosquitoes are living creatures too. How can you be so cruel as to kill them? That night, she threw all our dorm windows wide open, claiming she wanted to leave a door open for the lost little souls outside. I was bitten so badly that I developed a high fever from the allergic reaction. My eyelids swelled so much I could barely open them. But when I tried to hang a protective mosquito net over my bed, she tore it down, sobbing hysterically. How can you be so selfish? You protect yourself in a little bubble, but what about them? In my past life, that single sentence was the catalyst. It triggered a wave of public shaming on our campus forum, pulling my roommates, my classmates, and strangers alike into a self-righteous mob. They called me cold-blooded. They said she was just too pure and kind, and that I couldn't even tolerate a few tiny insects. Ultimately, the severe allergic reaction sent me into anaphylactic shock, landing me in the ICU. Even as I fought for my life, she cried in front of her livestream camera, claiming my hostile attitude had simply provoked the poor mosquitoes. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that very first day of college. She was holding down my bug zapper, her eyes rimmed with red. You won't hurt them, right? Instead of arguing, I pulled out my phone, grabbed my documents, and walked straight to the housing director's office. Professor, I'm applying to live off campus. If anyone wanted to turn their dorm room into a wildlife sanctuary, they could do it without me. Advisor Beth looked up from her desk, the orientation roster only half turned. Phoebe, you just checked in. Why are you already asking to commute? I placed my admission letter, ID copy, hospital allergy certification, and off-campus housing application on her desk. Professor, I have a medical history of severe, life-threatening allergic reactions to insect bites. Right now, my roommate, Lisa, is refusing to let us use any bug spray or zappers, and she won't even let me hang a net. The office fell dead silent. A student assistant sorting files in the corner couldn't help but snort. She won't let you kill mosquitoes? Beth frowned. Phoebe, roommate conflicts should be resolved through communication first. Off-campus approval isn't something we can process in a single day. Just then, a soft, trembling voice echoed from the doorway. That isn't a conflict. Lisa stood by the door, clutching my electric bug zapper to her chest like a shield. She was wearing a simple white cotton dress, her eyes swollen and red, looking as though she were the one who had been deeply wronged. Professor, she wants to commit murder. The smirk on the student assistant's face instantly froze. Beth stared at the object in Lisa's arms. Why do you have her property? Lisa held the zapper even tighter. This thing is terrifying. I only took it to keep her from doing something awful. Every living thing has a soul, and they feel pain too. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. I know everyone thinks I'm strange, but I just wish this world wasn't so cruel. A few freshmen had gathered in the hallway, peeking through the open door. She's so sweet and empathetic, one whispered. Others began to cast judgmental looks in my direction. The familiar, suffocating pressure returned to my chest. In my past life, it had played out exactly like this. The moment Lisa shed a tear, everyone automatically assumed she was the victim. When I said I had an allergy, they accused me of exaggerating. When I said she refused to let me close the window, they claimed it was normal to want fresh summer air. When I said she destroyed my net, they defended her, saying she was just acting out of pure, passionate emotion. And while I lay mute on an ICU bed, they were busy debating whether I was too cold-hearted. This time, I didn't bother explaining. I simply looked at Beth. Professor, I'm not here to judge her personal beliefs. I am simply requesting to be separated from her. Lisa sobbing paused. She looked up, tears clinging to her eyelashes. Do you really hate me that much? I am allergic to mosquitoes, I replied flatly. As if deeply wounded by my coldness, she took a half step back. But they are only trying to survive. I pulled up my sleeve, exposing my forearm. Several large, angry red welts had already blossomed across my skin, their edges inflamed and hot. So am I. The office fell silent. Beth looked over my medical document, her brow furrowing deeper. An off-campus application requires parental consent, department approval, and a housing manager signature. Lisa sniffled, wiping her nose. Professor, there's no need to make such a big deal out of this. I'll work hard to help Phoebe understand how beautiful and precious all life is. I looked at her. I don't need to understand mosquitoes, and I certainly don't need your effort. The off-campus application couldn't be approved on the spot. Beth explained that she needed to contact my parents and the housing department to verify the procedure. Hearing the words, contact parents, Lisa wept even harder. Please don't call my mother. She'll think I'm causing trouble for others again. Some of the onlookers at the door softened. Professor, maybe let them go back to the dorm and talk it out. Moving out on the very first day doesn't look good for the department. They're just girls, a quick chat will clear everything up. Beth looked at me. Her expression wasn't one of favoritism, but of sheer exhaustion. University bureaucracy moved slowly, but emotional drama escalated in seconds. Lisa knew exactly how to play the crowd. She clutched the bug zapper, her voice barely a whisper, yet loud enough for everyone in the hallway to hear. Phoebe, I just want you to carry less hostility in your heart. Mosquitoes are so tiny, they can't even fight back. If we don't protect them, who will? In my past life, this was the point where I had backed down. I had worried about ruining roommate relationships on day one, so I followed her back to the room. That night, she kept the windows wide open and turned off the fan, claiming the breeze would disorient the poor insects. I was bitten repeatedly until 4 in the morning, my throat swelling and closing. When I reached for my medicine, she cried that the chemical smell would harm them. Later, I was on my knees, clawing at the bed frame as my vision went black. This time, I placed my phone on the desk and pressed record. Professor, I am happy to cooperate with the official process, I said. But until the off-campus approval is finalized, I will not sleep in that dorm. If the university cannot temporarily assign me another bed, I require a written statement from the office. A statement? Beth asked. Yes, stating that I have submitted medical proof of a severe allergy, and that the university is aware a student in my assigned dorm is actively preventing basic health and safety measures. Silence blanketed the office once more. Lisa's tears dried up instantly. She stared at me, her eyes suddenly cold and unfamiliar. Beth remained quiet for a few seconds before picking up her desk phone and dialing the housing office. We have an issue in dorm building 2, room 503. Please send a supervisor up there immediately. A student is reporting that she cannot use preventative measures or nets due to a roommate's interference. After listening to the reply, Beth's expression grew incredibly complicated. Yes, I am serious. It's not a joke. Lisa suddenly lunged toward me. Why do you have to blow everything out of proportion? Her voice was sharp, yet she quickly softened it for the crowd outside. We could have easily learned to understand each other. Nearby, someone raised a phone to record us. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Lisa bit her lip, fresh tears spilling over. I didn't touch you. Why are you acting like I'm a monster? Suddenly, the bug zapper in her arms let out a loud zap. She must have accidentally pressed the power button. A bright flash of blue-purple electricity crackled in the air. With a shriek, she threw the zapper away. It flew across the room and slammed into a girl's suitcase near the door, leaving a nasty white crack in the plastic shell. The girl's face went white. That's my new suitcase. Lisa scrambled to her feet, panicked. I'm sorry, it was an accident. The girl shook with anger. Does an accident mean you don't have to pay for it? Lisa turned her watery eyes back to me. Phoebe, you scared me. That's why I dropped it.
For a moment, the entire office went silent. Then the girl whose suitcase had been damaged exploded. She scared you, she snapped. You stole her property, waved it around like some holy relic, turned it on yourself, and somehow this is her fault? Several students nodded immediately. The mood in the room shifted. Not because they suddenly understood me. Because for the first time, Lisa's actions had directly inconvenienced someone else. Lisa's face turned pale. I didn't mean. Pay for my suitcase. I don't have that kind of money. The girl's expression darkened. My parents bought this for me yesterday. The student assistant finally stood up. Enough. He pointed at the bug zapper lying on the floor. Return that. Lisa hesitated. The assistant's voice sharpened. Now. Reluctantly, she picked it up and handed it to me. The second it touched my hand again, I felt an odd sense of relief. In my previous life, I had never gotten it back. Lisa had eventually thrown it away, claiming it was an instrument of torture. The housing office supervisor arrived 10 minutes later. A middle-aged woman named Director Chang. Beth quickly explained the situation. At first, Director Chang looked skeptical. Then she read my medical documents. Then she looked at the welts already spreading across my arms. Then she looked at Lisa. You prevented her from using a mosquito net? Lisa lowered her head. I was trying to help her become a more compassionate person. Director Chang blinked. What? The mosquitoes deserve compassion too. The supervisor stared at her for several seconds. Then she slowly removed her glasses. The gesture alone made everyone nervous. Young lady. Her voice was frighteningly calm. If a student has a documented allergy, preventing medical accommodations can be considered endangering student safety. Lisa froze. Director Chang continued. And if something happened to her after the university was informed of the risk. She tapped my medical certificate. The liability would be enormous. For the first time all day, genuine fear appeared in Lisa's eyes. Not tears. Fear. Because tears only worked on people. Policies didn't care about tears. Rules didn't care about tears. Liability certainly didn't care about tears. I wasn't trying to hurt her. No, Director Chang replied. But intent doesn't magically erase consequences. The hallway crowd had become noticeably quieter. A few students were beginning to exchange awkward looks. Some of them had been nodding along with Lisa only minutes earlier. Now they were realizing how ridiculous the situation actually sounded. Director Chang made a decision on the spot. Temporary reassignment. Beth looked surprised. Today? Today. Director Chang nodded. The medical documentation justifies it. I nearly laughed from relief. In my previous life, I had spent months trapped with Lisa. This time, I was escaping on the very first day. Lisa suddenly grabbed Director Chang's sleeve. What about me? Everyone looked at her. Tears filled her eyes again. If Phoebe leaves, everyone will think I'm a bad person. The office became silent. Director Chang slowly removed Lisa's hand. That, she said evenly, sounds like a consequence you'll have to manage yourself. Lisa looked as though she had been slapped. For years she had weaponized public opinion. She genuinely couldn't understand why it wasn't working. But things were only beginning. Because the student who had recorded everything uploaded the video that evening. Not the edited version Lisa would later post. The entire thing. From her stealing my property. To her refusing mosquito nets. To her claiming mosquitoes needed protection from me. To her blaming me for damaging someone else's suitcase. Within hours, the campus forum exploded. The title of the post quickly became the most viewed thread of freshman orientation week. Girl tries to save mosquitoes, accidentally starts housing investigation. Thousands of comments poured in. At first there was disbelief. Then mockery. Then anger. One comment received over 2,000 likes. So if a tiger attacks me, can I not defend myself because the tiger has feelings? Another wrote, she's not protecting life. She's forcing everyone else to participate in her beliefs. And another, the allergy victim is showing more patience than I ever would. The tide had completely turned. By midnight, Lisa attempted damage control. She started a live stream. Just like in my previous life. Only this time, things went very differently. She cried. She apologized. She talked about kindness. She talked about empathy. She talked about protecting vulnerable creatures. Then viewers started posting screenshots, medical documents, university policies, clips from the original video. Every time she tried to shift blame, someone posted evidence. Every time she cried, someone replayed the part where she tried to blame me for the suitcase. The comments became brutal. Lisa ended the stream after 17 minutes. The next morning, she became famous across campus. Unfortunately for her, not in the way she wanted. People had even given her a nickname, the Mosquito Messiah. I was unpacking my belongings in my new dorm when my phone buzzed. A notification from the campus forum. Someone had posted a photograph. Lisa standing alone in the cafeteria. 3 empty chairs around her. Nobody sitting nearby. The caption read, "Mosquitoes need friends too. Please leave seats available." The comment section was merciless. I stared at the screen for several seconds. Then I locked my phone. For once, I felt nothing. Just relief. Because unlike my previous life, I wasn't lying in an ICU bed fighting for breath. I was alive. And this time, Lisa would have to live with the consequences of her own choices instead of making me suffer for them. Unfortunately for her, the story wasn't over yet. 2 days later, the university's disciplinary office called her in for a meeting. Someone had finally decided to investigate what else the self-proclaimed defender of all living things had been doing behind the scenes. 2 days later, Lisa walked into the disciplinary office convinced she was the victim. She emerged 3 hours later looking like she'd seen a ghost. Naturally, that only made people more curious. By dinner, rumors were spreading across campus. By midnight, the truth came out. The investigation hadn't started because of me. It had started because multiple students had filed complaints after watching the video. Once administrators began interviewing people, they discovered something interesting. Lisa's behavior wasn't limited to mosquitoes. Not even close. A girl from another floor reported that Lisa had secretly released several moths she had trapped in a container for a biology project. A sophomore revealed that Lisa had repeatedly entered shared study spaces and unplugged electric insect traps purchased by students. One student claimed Lisa had dumped ant poison into a sink because she considered it cruel. Another reported that Lisa had opened a sealed container containing cockroaches used for a laboratory observation assignment. That last incident nearly caused a panic in the science building. The more investigators dug, the worse it became. Lisa defended herself the entire time. I was protecting innocent life. Unfortunately for her, university administrators preferred words like tampering, property damage, and safety violations. Those terms carried far more weight. 3 days later, an official notice appeared on the student portal. Lisa was placed on disciplinary probation. She lost eligibility for several student programs. She was ordered to complete behavioral counseling, and she was warned that further incidents could result in suspension. The campus forum celebrated. Lisa did not. For the first time since arriving at college, her tears weren't working. No matter who she cried to, they all pointed to the same thing. The evidence. The videos. The complaints. The records. Facts were stubborn things, especially when they were documented. Meanwhile, my own life became unexpectedly peaceful. My new roommate, Emma, had exactly 3 interests: coffee, sleep, and avoiding unnecessary drama. The first thing she did after moving in was point at the window. Open or closed? Closed. Cool. She shut it. That was the entire conversation. I nearly wanted to hug her. For the first time since arriving at college, I slept through the entire night. No bites. No swelling. No medication. No waking up unable to breathe. The difference felt miraculous. A week later, I was walking across campus when I saw Lisa again. She looked exhausted. Dark circles sat beneath her eyes. Several students immediately changed direction after spotting her. She noticed me and hurried over. "Phoebe." I stopped. "What?" Her eyes reddened. "I don't understand." I almost laughed. "What don't you understand?" I cared about life. You cared about mosquitoes. They're living things. So are people. She froze. The words seemed to hit her harder than any insult. I continued calmly. When you saw me covered in bites, what did you think? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. When I showed you my allergy documents? Silence. When I asked for a mosquito net? Her gaze dropped. For the first time, she had no prepared speech. No audience to manipulate. No crowd to impress. Just a simple question. Why was a mosquito's comfort more important than a person's safety? After nearly a minute, she whispered, I thought you were exaggerating. There it was. The truth. Arrogance. She had decided she knew better than everyone else. She had decided her beliefs mattered more than reality. I nodded, then turned to leave. Wait. I stopped. She sounded desperate. Can we start over? I looked at her. Really looked at her. And suddenly I remembered another image. My body lying in a hospital bed. Machines beeping. Doctors rushing. My mother crying outside the ICU. And Lisa live streaming her tears to strangers while I fought for my life. My expression cooled. No. Her face went white. You get a second chance because life gave you one. I stepped away. I don't owe you mine. She stood frozen in the middle of the path as students streamed around her. For once, nobody rushed over to comfort her. Nobody asked if she was okay. Nobody glared at me for walking away. Because everyone had finally seen what I had seen from the beginning. A person can cry and still be wrong. A person can talk about kindness and still hurt others. And someone who claims to love every living thing sometimes forgets to care about the human standing right in front of them. As I walked toward class, my phone buzzed with a notification. A new campus announcement. I opened it casually, then stopped walking. The title read, Urgent He. Notice, mosquito-borne illness detected in local area. My eyes narrowed. The university was advising students to use repellents, protective nets, and avoid unnecessary exposure during evening hours. I slowly looked back toward the stunned figure of Lisa standing across the courtyard. For the first time all semester, the entire university was about to have a very serious conversation about mosquitoes. And Lisa was about to find herself on the losing side of it again. The announcement spread across campus faster than gossip. Within an hour, every dorm group chat was discussing it. Within 2 hours, students were lining up at the campus pharmacy. Mosquito repellent sold out before sunset. The next morning, maintenance crews began installing additional screens in common areas and inspecting dorm windows. The university wasn't taking any chances. Neither were students. Unfortunately for Lisa, the timing could not have been worse. The same person who had dubbed her the Mosquito Messiah posted another thread. Breaking, Lisa's worst nightmare has arrived. Attached was a screenshot of the University Health Advisory recommending insect repellent, mosquito nets, and elimination of breeding sites. The comment section was merciless. Someone check on Lisa. She's about to file a discrimination complaint on behalf of mosquitoes. Do the mosquitoes get legal representation? By lunchtime, the post had accumulated thousands of reactions. For the first time, Lisa couldn't even argue. The university itself was now recommending every preventive measure she had condemned. Reality had officially picked a side. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 nights later, our resident assistant knocked on my door. Phoebe, can you come downstairs for a moment? Something in her expression made me stand immediately. When I reached the lobby, several administrators were gathered around a table, including Director Chang. The moment she saw me, her expression tightened. Phoebe, what happened? Director Chang slid a folder toward me. Inside were photographs. My stomach dropped. The images showed standing buckets of water hidden behind dorm building 2. Old containers. Discarded flower pots. Broken storage bins. Every single one filled with stagnant water. Perfect mosquito breeding grounds. And then I saw the final photograph. Lisa, carrying buckets, pouring water into the containers. My blood ran cold. What is this? The administrator looked exhausted. We received an anonymous report. I stared at the photos. Why would she do this? Nobody answered immediately. Finally, Director Chang spoke. According to several witnesses, she believed recent mosquito control efforts were destroying habitats. The room fell silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't misguided kindness anymore. This was recklessness. Deliberate recklessness. A university health advisory had just warned students about mosquito-borne illness, and Lisa had responded by creating more breeding sites. The next 48 hours were chaos. The university launched an emergency investigation. Facility staff drained every container. Health officials inspected the area. Students were furious, especially after administrators confirmed that the stagnant water had indeed become active breeding grounds. The campus forum exploded harder than ever before. Even students who had previously defended Lisa abandoned her. One post summarized the general mood perfectly. Compassion stops being compassion when you start putting other people at risk. The disciplinary hearing was scheduled immediately. Unlike before, there was no sympathy left. No crowds calling her misunderstood. No students insisting she just had a good heart. The evidence was overwhelming. Photographs. Witness statements. Security footage. Everything. When the decision arrived a week later, the university announced that Lisa was being suspended. Not for loving mosquitoes. Not for being unusual. But for repeatedly ignoring safety directives and engaging in conduct that endangered other students. The distinction mattered. The administration made sure everyone understood it. When Lisa received the decision, she reportedly broke down crying. For hours. But tears couldn't erase documentation. And they couldn't erase consequences. The day she left campus, very few people noticed. A handful watched from dorm windows. Most simply went about their day. The attention she had craved for so long had vanished. As for me, I was sitting under a shaded tree reviewing notes for an upcoming exam when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Director Chang. A simple one. Your housing accommodation has been permanently approved. I stared at the screen for several seconds, then smiled. Not because Lisa had lost. Not because she had been punished. But because, for the first time since getting this second chance, I felt completely safe. The future that had once ended in an ICU bed no longer existed. That version of me, the girl gasping for air while strangers debated whether she deserved help, was gone. In her place was someone who had learned something important. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to convince everyone. And you certainly don't have to sacrifice your own well-being to satisfy someone else's idea of virtue. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is walk away, document everything, and let the truth speak for itself. And this time it had.